YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, you already started. Facebook, I think we're streaming to also, of course, Zoom. Yogi Chris, IMC Nation captain and historian here at Eden House. This is the studio, so I'm streaming it to you from here today. Talking about congruence and character. Congruent character, what that is. You know, this is a stream for IMC Nation. IMC Nation is founded by AZD. And AZD is an acronym for a guy named Arash Zapardibazar, born Arash Javadi Dibazar. But then he took on the name Zapar and then just the acronym AZD. So that's how we refer to him. Sometimes you'll hear him called Spider. That's what we talk about when we're in field. In field means when we go out to social venues and we're social masters or experts or practitioners or whatever level we're at, but we're looking at the subject of social influence. There's body language, there's unconsciousness, there's conscious awareness, there's an agenda where you're going for, and ultimately you want relationships with beautiful women. Probably if you're a man, you want multiple relationships. And if you look around in the world, where do you see that? Is really, really rare. And if it's not just like some hyper successful, practically celebrity type of guy, or like royalty, which even there is only like handfuls of guys that are like that, you don't see anybody with game doing it. So AZD's doing it, and so now that's what these accounts are. You see him, all the tattoos and tattooed face and all the clips we put out of him. So now getting back to why congruence of character is important. Because what AZD does with 7 girlfriends or 8 or whatever he has now, 9, and many of them over 10 years. So there's long-term relationships with beautiful women. How he does it, he would say, is character. And with some of I want to put together a book reference list. I've already started a movie reference list, but there's a book reference list. There's the hyper-exclusive books that are in the most highest level trainings, but there's a lot of other books, like the Master Key System, like the Mystery Method, like Open Secret, like whole bunch of greatest salesmen in the world. There's a whole list of books that, if you know, Book of 5 Rings and Rokugan series, and all sorts of books that, there's a lot of trainings, dude. This guy has been prolific for a long time. He's been streaming for a long time, and it's rare that he's repeating himself. Sometimes he'll readdress or revisit like a subject or whatever, but it just keeps going forward. And he's also, 48-year-old man or whatever, so he has this history of so many things, studied topics, teachers, books, whatever. And so he's distilled the ones that were most impactful for what he does, and that's what we come to him for, because he's got the world's greatest game. And he's demonstrating that, not the money, sure he makes money, but it's not like there's way more wealthy guys. There's a lot of guys with wealth at his level and beyond that are way below in game. It's not even a factor in that. As we've seen, some of the dropouts that don't even need to be named, but I can name at least 3 that four at a high level. I can name a dozen that were like, had done camps or whatever, but there were 4 at messenger's level. All 4, I'm trying to remember the 4. Yes, all 4 had done messengers. But for them, it wasn't a year's worth of income. It was like a week's worth of income or less. You know what I'm saying? So that if you, what do you make in a week? On a $1,000 a month would be $250 a week. So imagine a training that you paid $250 for. Some coaches out there, the same amount of training AZD gives, like come in person, I'll talk to you, like $250. How much would you really commit to change? How much would you really listen to the corrections? Be a lot less. Exactly. It's less. So rich guys don't change like that. They got to put more on the line or something else. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But why I was saying that, congruence of character. Where did I get into old messages? Character. Oh, so all these book references that he's given over time that get to what he's doing, which is using game, a way of communicating, timing, understanding psychology, the context, and what real value is to the nervous system of the other person, perception of value and real value, and especially genetic value. So there's signals that the books, the evolutionary psychology books, those are also on the book list, but there's certain ones, not just all of them. And to change one's beingness, how you hold yourself, how you move, your looseness or tension, your facial expressions, your tonality inflections as you talk, and your ability to listen, like to the point where everything is in alignment with what you're communicating, versus maybe the girl who is communicating, like asking you questions and you think she's interested, but she's closed off because she's uncomfortable. Or the girl that's not interested, but her body language is open to you. Congruent, you'd want it to be the verbal interest and the physical interest. And that's just two basic examples. So you'd be surprised, and it happens sometimes. Like, let's say you just had a big sale or a big win or some victory, right? You go to the grocery store and all of a sudden all these women are giving you attention. Maybe you were carrying yourself a little different. Maybe there was a little bit more smile, a little bit more glow, a little bit more thrust in your step. Little signals that all compound together. And so 1% more here, and you're 3 times more attractive. And then you don't notice when you're thinking about money, stressing, down. Nobody's giving you attention. And now it's like, I need to spend money to get women's attention because my game went down or something happened. It's a state of mind. And if you could hack all those things that you're doing that you're not aware of, you just won the championship and you won a bunch of money, you earned a bunch of money, and you got laid by your dream girl and you're talking to your second dream girl. And it's like, you just feel good. And of course, you know, if you put a bunch of power, like a rocket engine on a rickety SUV, it probably blows apart. It can't handle the aerodynamics that's necessary. It doesn't have the design in its character to handle all the power. So a nerd dork or an immature guy gets DHV'd like he's the next Elon Musk or something, let's say, or whatever. And it's like, can you handle the DH? He's a porn star, he used to say about Adrian, or, you know, this and that, like just some high world traveling yoga other places, but maybe not owning it. Do I have the character to handle the power of that communication? And it's power because it influences people and women especially. So it's very powerful communication. So if you could, all the winning, you were winning in so many different ways all at once, you might violate people because you're so confident. Too loud. You're too in their space. Yeah. You don't consider them because you don't register them because your vibe is too high. You don't see them and you're not used to that. So then you violate. Just be ready, because one day you may not be winning so much, and then all the people that you violated, they may be winning, and then you'll be getting it is back and forth violations. And so you learn to calibrate. So assuming you're winning big in all ways of life, and you have developed your character at least to the degree that you're not violating people when you feel so good. Then if you could step back from yourself and observe, what are you doing? Because those people didn't know that you just got laid, that you just made money, that they don't know that. Why are they reacting positively? What are you actually doing? And if you're able to observe yourself over and over and over again, you'd probably start to see patterns, how you hold your face, how you walked, how you dressed, how you smelled, something about your shoulders. Who knows what you'll notice? But imagine there are things and you're noticing them. And you, like a time traveler, could just watch it on repeat until you get it all. And you got it all. And then you make a list or whatever. And then you practice them. And then you hack it. And you just make your body language, your face, everything that of a winner, no matter what's going on in life. You're always communicating that. That would be an analogy to something like AZD's game. His body language, his face, it is so calibrated to success with beautiful women that there was a guy that he was like the assistant director of this wrestling summer camp, like empire, basically. You know, lots of camps, lots of different states, different, like, and this guy that was running it, you know, it was a whole thing. It was like the Tony Robbins of the wrestling world or something at the time. Okay. And his like assistant was this guy, Ian. Ian was about your size, but swole and agile like a wrestler. He was a really good drill. He could practice the moves, but he wasn't actually a good grappler. And he really got more into the physical. He's very vain, extremely vain, but cut and knew how to build his body like a fitness man. one day there was this other guy, a lot of connections, sparing you the long story, but this guy, Andre, who was a wrestler from Ukraine, and older guy, and he had this, he was advertising this invention he had, this band to help you train for wrestling. And Ian was right there, and he was like, Ian, show your abs. And he did it, and bro, I mean, the guy, the paper-thin skin, and he was like, 6 days on my AB band. And, you know, just as a funny promo, like 6 days he's been training with my thing. Yeah. And then he was like, somehow he said to Ian for whatever reason, like, relax your belly now. And he's like, I can't.
Oh, it's
like,
that.
I can't. Yeah. And like, he's trying to relax it and make it soft, and it was just hard. Yeah. Like, he couldn't relax his belly. I don't know if AZD can make himself low value. I don't know if he can just not be cut like that. Just because his friend is low value, he doesn't want to offend him, or his friend's girl is there, he doesn't want to attract his friend's girl. Can he really shut it off when it's so imbued in everything, his smell, everything? You can only turn off so much of it. Just his presence sitting there not being a wall, eventually it would probably turn really awkward. But there's habits created. We're on the other end of the spectrum the autism spectrum. We're on the other end of the pendulum with all the negative habits, putting effort into the higher value habits. Well, that's the outer game. Now, the inner game, when you're winning, you have a lot of high value habits. You just also have a lot of character flaws. Like the SUV can't handle the power. Got to bend it more aerodynamic to handle that. Okay? And then it's a double-edged sword. It's a trap, because once you have a Lamborghini, it sucks to drive at 25 miles an hour down the side streets all the time. At some point, you want to get on the highway. And if you never have a relationship, you're always going to be driving the side streets. Or if you're not in the game, interacting with women that you desire, at least getting better, that's getting on the road and vroom. And maybe it's not, you're stressed while you're doing it or something. That's like you're stressed while you're interacting. But if you have a fine character, many men that train with AZD think they do, but they're not in the game. So we go out, and I've been emphasizing going out. I've been building my life in between when we go out with AZD, because it's necessary. And I see the potentials with all of that as we plant seeds, water them. And I gave the whole vision to Kwando. I was talking to you earlier. Fabian was listening to it. And just the vision of 3 or 4 days a week, in between the days we go out with AZD, hopping lounges, eventually putting in a second lounge, so we bounce one lounge to another lounge, but sharp. AZD style. You guys got to learn AZD style. The closest you'll get is going out with him and then going out with me. Because I'm never going to I'm not going to consciously fall out of alignment with how to be in alignment with him. Because I'm here for that. So I'm living for the nights that I go out with AZD. That's where you peak. You're peaking for that. But I got to fulfill my life in all the nights in between and train the guys up and, fill in the gaps, because at some point the gap is so big between me and AZD, let alone you guys and AZD. And it's like so much is going to go over your head. And I want fulfilled clients that bring more clients, Like, it has to work. So I got to help fill in the gaps, plus build my own life. So I'm going to use you guys as my tribe to go out. And so I carry more power when we go out. So then it goes from one venue to bouncing to another. Once we're doing that, the guys that live here, it's inviting the girls that we've met out with AZD to meet us out when we're doing our thing. When we bring in, the first couple times you bring in a girl to the venue with you, are you falling asleep? I couldn't even talk. I'm like talking right at you loudly, and you're like still falling asleep. You don't have to be out here, man. You can take a nap or whatever. Anyway, once you bring a girl to the venue with you, you're just going to see the power of game. The pre-selection of bringing a girl into a venue is going to open all the waitresses and everybody. So much more. You'd have to work to get to that level with them. Then practicing with that is going to be, that girl probably goes to work or whatever. You meet another girl at that venue, you bounce her to the next venue. Because we're hopping from one lounge to another lounge. And we're making a routine of that 3 days a week. 4 days a week, really. At some point, it becomes a hotel room. Consistently getting, whether you have a girl or not, you just get the hotel room that night. Because somebody's going to have a girl. Or not. But that's a level we're getting to. At some point, enough. We have the girls that we go out with AZD. We have the girls that we've met in Vegas while we're here. And we've been doing it 6 days or 7 days a week for the next 8 weeks. Okay. Then it's a matter of taking one of those nights that we're going to lounges and making it a house party or a barbecue. Now, on that night, I'll meet the tribe, house, this, that, fight, game, whatever, and making that happen, however long it takes. But then the next levels reveal itself. So that's like the building of a lifestyle, and we have the city to plug into, and we have the tech to plug into it. And AZD's teachings is character manifest. So one of some of the main texts is law of attraction and the secret, but the secret is in your communication. Communication is what's going to align people of the world with your goals, visions, dreams, whatever, and position you ultimately in the place where you see your vision. You're sitting there out of your own physical eyes, you see what it was that you wanted to see. So your dharma is fulfilled, your fucking purpose. And to get into that position in time and space and with the context around you that you want is going to require communicating with people. You're not getting here to there without communicating with people. And if you do the wrong communications, it blocks it or takes you in another direction or whatever. Also, your decisions, which your communications come from decisions. So those are happening in your mind. And in your mind is imagination, because what else are you seeing when you see your mind? Is imagination. It could be involuntary imagination, or it could be volition, like you're creating it, but, imagination. So imagination and communication are the keys. And how you can learn communication would be like pickup game. Imagination in the inner world would be like a self-mastery, so congruence. A lot of thoughts that we have and entertain, we don't want to share in words externally. So to get to a point where everything inside can be framed or made in a way that is high value, just the same way that you were hacking your body language if you were able to watch yourself on repeat, and you would just start like if you watch yourself on video, you start eradicating and removing your communication flaws, your gap filling words, your hemming and hawing, your tonalities will irritate you. You'll change. So if you were able to watch your wrestling and you see, my head was in the wrong position or this or that, that's why he got the angle on me. You see the step before the step that you lost advantage. And so in game, if you were able to watch it, and it happens, the more you game, the more you'll step back from yourself. You'll see yourself in familiar positions while you're in the position. And then we have an ecosystem to talk about it because it's so unconscious what we're doing. So much of it, most of what we're doing is unconscious. So we bring it in awareness and then tune the dials and calibrate it and mold the shape of our SUV to be that rocket. And bringing that unconsciousness into conscious awareness is the congruence. Because if you have unconsciousness, that's still playing out in your body language and communication, that is DLVing yourself and diminishing your results in game. And then you have your conscious game that's probably good, but it maybe is disconnected. And where is it disconnected? Is you dip into autopilot, your other character, your habits, and then you fill it in with another game piece. So in between the game pieces, you have you. And so the pickup artist has to stack a bunch of game pieces, just stack them so that their character never has to come through in between. It's just routine after routine after routine after routine. And then they're basically like holding their breath through comfort and bouncing the girl that I hope she doesn't see how weak I am. And if I just keep, and the more you do it, the more you'll stack now we're doing it also, I'm saying bounce from this venue to that venue, whatever. But the emphasis here on authenticity and organic game, that's everything AZD's teaching. That's the point of the messengers, is to get you out of your mimicry and into who you are and developing that in relation to game. Develop who you are so that you get the results in game, but in alignment with who you were before you were impressed on by the world and by your parents and everything, and you started mimicking everybody because your genuine, authentic communication was not accepted for whatever reasons. Maybe it had flaws, or they had their own demons, or whatever was happening that you weren't perfectly treated as a kid. At some point, you started getting molded by other people's communication, and you just adopted their way of communicating. But you lost your essence. It's still in there. It's just mixed in all of that other pollution. So the messengers is this highest level tech that aligns you with that, using the secret references and the tests and whatever, and then his communication, using his AI and everything to help you accelerate your vernacular, your how you talk about your life You don't have to change anything about your life. You have to change how you talk about it, is your game. You don't have to change anything about your life. Ultimately, you'll want to. I don't know if it's plugged in you. You may want to, you may not. But definitely your communication is the results in game. Never mind imagination and all the mindset and everything. It's literally the external game that results in the results of game. But it will break if you don't have the inner game. There'll be dips. It'll be fragmented, what I'm saying. So congruence of character is everything. So how does yoga play into that? Because you were asking me before. I mean, one of the pillars of AZD Tech is Manu. So let's say that's 15% of everything. If you need to learn AZD Tech, you'll never get it 100% unless you get it 100%. And 15% of it is, let's say, Manu's Tech. It's really not that. It's more like there's 7 pillars and all of them are 100%. And if you do all of them, you don't get 700%. You end up with 100%. But that doesn't really work out mathematically. So they're all essential. Let's just say about 15% of it's Manu. I don't know what percentage of that, but a big portion of it is relaxation. Supposedly, the story goes, it's everything in the beginning and everything throughout. Once you get it in the beginning, it's always there. It's like footwork and boxing. You need to be able to relax. Now, how do you relax? You could sit and relax for hours and try. And yoga is a way to help you relax. Now, that's yoga postures and everything. I mean, talking about yoga, obviously, AZD Yogi, we talk about Maharishi and the Yoga Sutras and blah, blah, blah. So yoga is a state of mind, is yoga, technically. You go, like, yoga looks like a fad, but the scriptures of yoga are as old as the Bible and beyond. It's old shit that they talk about. And those early writers in the East, in India, were talking about the mind. And when you stop the mind, you're in a state of yoga. And then they go into describing what does that mean to stop the mind, and what is the mind, and that in their own Sanskrit language, and then we have our modern interpretation. So yoga is the state of no mind. So when you're in field, that's essential. When you reach a state of no mind, when you have a still lake, you see the ripples easier. So when you're really truly still, then you see the ripples in your life. When you now be still alone, now be still with a girl. Be still with a pretty naked girl on your lap. Like, it's like, whoa, and disturbance, 2 girls, disturbance. Now, if you don't have a solid 0 point, then you'll be lost in that disturbance. You'll never find your grounding in that. You start from grounding and then maintain it, or at least have such a deep reference of it that you can find it when you're in the middle of turbulence. And so this is a spiritual path, because if you're going to change your character to the deepest levels, you have to separate from that. Those are your patterns. Those are your karmas. You have patterns you're not aware of that are creating the effects that you resent. You're caught in this like resent cycle that you're creating. But we may not be aware of how we're creating it. So that's where the AZD process comes in as a template for gaining self-awareness of your character. And then we introduce other things. My yoga has nothing to do with AZD's process. I do yoga, and that's how I have interpreted AZD process, because I didn't abandon all my yoga knowledge. It's helpful probably to everybody. Stretching out your body will help you relax. Relaxing will help you meditate, sleep better, recover better. I mean, it's just the health benefits. I mean, you're so into health. So, I mean, the health of it. And the more you practice, I mean, that's a whole separate talk, really, but it's a spiritual path, bro. Like, consistent yoga practice, you separate from your identity. You start to see your identity in the yoga practice because you have resentment of different movements, different stretches, different idiosyncrasies, different asymmetries. You see that it's a template to practice over and over and over and over and over again, so you see your patterns in it. And then you need a teacher, because without a teacher, you'll just get lost in your own patterns, spiral in your own patterns, thinking you're the greatest musician ever, but you never play for anybody else. And you're probably good, but you're also probably really warped, because you never calibrated to another's ear. So you need a teacher that says, hey, you're getting warped in that, or you're hurting yourself this way or that way. So, that is present here in the way AZD teaches this game to us. It's just, you don't need to go and become an expert at yoga to see that parallel. You'll have your own parallels. As you get more masterful at IMC Tech and what AZD teaches, you'll see how you have activities you've done that parallel it, and you'll get better and better and better at describing those parallels. And then you'll become a messenger of trading or software or of music or whatever you end up doing, because the parallels, it's just the nature of it. The same physics that makes all those things work, it's the same. It's just like all the spiritual people will say, our language is a language of separateness. We separate from each other. It's a language of violence and separateness. So our natural way of communicating puts people off, diminishes people, cuts off their heads so we seem taller, complains. Like it's just the way we've learned to speak from the culture. And the culture is not really a thing. The culture is made up of lots and lots of individuals. But it all came from somewhere. Where did books get printed back in time when they weren't reading? Like, you know, and that's all fascinating. And it's useful to the extent that it helps you separate from the culture you were born into. When you see how suppressive it was in slave language and this and that, and have more pride in your growth and have more appreciation for how hard it is to grow. So it's useful in those sense. But beyond that, ancient Illuminati knowledge and this and that I haven't found too useful. Fascinating topics of conversation with girls, but not every girl's into that, you know, so, you know, that's why it's not necessarily emphasized with AZD. He's red pill, but how much into that red pill stuff do we go? Like, I don't know. All right, so I'm losing fizz here. I think the point is congruence. Yoga helps you be congruent because it deconditions your muscle patterns so that they can reformulate with better game. And, you know, just helps you receive corrections better, helps you release stress. Anything that gets in the way of you learning and receiving is, you know, negative. So yoga helps you soften your mind. And then catch also how things perturb you. Catch where your breathing gets affected or your body tenses. Gets you more familiar with your feelings, your emotions. But that's a dedicated yoga practice. My goal with teaching you guys yoga, besides making my own clips for an online yoga program when AZD opens the Fight Center, and I start teaching yoga, there'll be some digital program, and so it's just to create clips to promote it, right? And my girl will do all that. A yoga app with yoga classes, it's already built. So, but ultimately, if you guys attended a once-a-week class that became maybe a twice-a-week class or something for the next 6 months, you would have a lot of body movements. I wouldn't just repeat the same things over and over. You would have to get into poses and things. Whatever I do, at some point you'll lose interest if it's too yoga, and so be it. If I get a bunch of great yoga students, then I'll have to go more into yoga. I'd like to do that. I like yoga. If I get more fighters or whatever, then we'll do more recovery and healing. It's just whoever shows up. But if you consistently show up, you'll get a repertoire of movements that will help you relax, balance your body, rest better, meditate better, breathe better, you know, get more awareness of your self-image, your emotions, all that. And that obviously helps learning game here. So this is not a promo for yoga. This is a promo for IMC Nation. It's a stream about the tech, the meaning of congruence in character, how your character, you know, really sets your destiny, and anything else, and then relaxation, how that helps. 6:30. Only went for 30 minutes. That's fine though. I don't know if there's any clippable clips in that really, but nada, nothing.
Not stressed. Fine, but I am.
Yeah, there's a little separation. I don't think people respond to how stressed you are. They respond to how you communicate. And how you communicate is affected by stress levels. How you hold your face, how you hold your body, your breathing, your movement. If your thoughts are on something, your body moves a different way than if your thoughts are on something else, or if your thoughts are no thoughts. Like, you know, so it's not that we respond to your stress, we respond to how you respond to your stress.
How would you, there a way that you have
Well, again, when it comes to like game and teaching game, you got to learn from AZD. So my results are that I have a girl, pretty fine, been with me for 6 years, and I've had like 6 or 7 second girlfriends with her, and you know, she's done other things for me. She's under me, and Cool. So, and I talk to a lot of women, and she knows it, so not a problem. If it's ever a problem, then you'll know it's a problem. But pretty sure she's on board. But we'll see. So that's my results in game. So what's going to make you more energetic and charismatic and loose and everything? That is my process. If you're asking me about yoga and how it prepares me for the process or whatever, because I'm so limited on time, like what I'm able to fit in as far as yoga is my tap in process. So I mostly tap in as a kind of dance, stretch, creation process with music. And I rarely get it over 20 minutes, but I always am shooting for 45 minutes. Somehow I'm always just working until I have 20 minutes to dance stretch. So a dance stretch manipulates the spine, and trying to end that with some rest before I take a shower. So I really just stretch out my spine and limbs in every angle I can find while I'm moving in rhythm, some kind of rhythm, some kind of music that I like, and paying attention as yoga prepares me and meditation, everything prepares me, paying attention to what I'm imagining as I'm doing it. And I'm doing that, and I get to some result. Usually you just have an intuition about I'm kind of done, or I've reached the next level, I'm good. And then I rest, and then shower. It will help you in your tap-in when you're social if, like, we were listening to your music and things that you really like or whatever, but, that's when you drive your own vehicle, or you can put in headphones if you want. But that's another level of tap-in. And, creating, so much is in the mind. So just creating where you're going and what it's going to be like there. So you create your state of mind, like how you would like to be. Like in the vehicle, you guys should be creating at some point how you want to be in field. Instead of chit-chatting in the back, like, how are you going to be when you walk in? How are you going to be when you walk out? And so it's amazing. Your state of mind can have so much effect on your body. You could stretch all to the ends of the earth, and then you have a negative state of mind, and you'll be stiff in field. And vice versa. You just came off work, but you really tapped in, and you're in a social state of mind, you'll be all loose and everything. So it's a mental experience at the end of the day, but there's a physical connection, obviously, and so what I do is that dance, stretch, whatever. And I think everybody can do that. You don't need yogic posture training to do that. You just have to be willing to explore and probably be gentle, because you'll hurt yourself if you go too weird. But just exploring ranges of motion, that's what I do anyway. So when I have 87 girlfriends, then really ask me about game. But that's how I loosen up and decondition my body before I go out. Bouncing your titties? Yeah, bouncing your titties. Yeah. Bouncing titties are like the symbol of looseness and relaxation. So anytime you want to relax, just imagine bouncing titties. Just bounce your titties. Just sit there and bounce your titties while you're there. And it relaxes your shoulder blades, kind of. It's weird. Let's clip that.
Most viral videos.
Yeah, maybe. We tag it, right? There you go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all that. And I think yoga at a higher level also trains your imagination, because you're visualizing your bones and joints and muscles. And it's a really cool, if you do it right, then you're connecting your imagination with your body. Like you're actually physically imagining the muscle while you can do that with bodybuilding too. It just creates a lot of chronic tension. That tension creates blockages, and blockages create numbness. So you actually turn numb to your body the more tense you are. Boom. Mic drop. All right, everybody. IMCBase1.com. That's where the free newsletter is and all the trainings, curriculums. IMCBase1.com. It's all in the bio. It's in the descriptions, everything. Okay, any final words? No? All right, everybody. Be the best. Fuck the rest. Os.